This is the vlog for a big Tuesday, November 6th, 2018. I can't remember if this is technically Super Tuesday or not, or if it's only Super Tuesday if there is a vote on House Representatives and the President at the same time. Anyway, there's no presidential election this year, but it is a big House race. The Senate has been basically predicted to remain in Republican control. I think the last thing I saw was like a 5% chance that the Democrats were going to take over the Senate, which is basically no chance at all, but it's a polite way of saying it. On the other hand, I literally have 3-5, or excuse me, let's see here, 538. 538 is I believe it's attempting to be nonpartisan site that gives forecasts and reports results and has a lot of cool, basically they're just tweets. They're very short, like paragraphs worth of information on election stuff. And right now, the Democrats have a 4-7 chance of taking the House of Representatives, and the Republicans have a chance of 3-7 chance of staying in control of the House of Representatives. Let me actually refresh that because that might not be up to date. Yeah, it wasn't up to date. Currently, according to 538, the Democrats have a 7-9 chance of taking the House of Representatives. The Republicans have a 2-9 chance of taking control or keeping control of the House of Representatives. Now, control is a weird thing. Let me get back to my camera so I can see myself talk. That's what I'm here for. That's why I do this, so I can look at this handsome mug while I talk. Even if Democrats took a technical majority, which is more than 50% of the seats in the House of Representatives, the actual political power that represents is sort of limited because without a 2/3 majority, the president can veto any legislature that they pass. And then, of course, it would still have to get passed by the United States Senate. And as we've said before, there's still a majority, almost certainly going to be a majority for Republicans in the Senate. Now, personally, I don't like to talk too much about politics in this channel because I think that it creates, in this day and age, there's too much, you're on my side, you're an other, and your opinion isn't valid. And I don't want to be doing that. I don't think that's how anything gets done. I don't think that's how positive things happen. I do like speaking in broad terms, numbers, ways that we can just sort of look at this without emotion. And the situation we would be in is that even with a majority House of Representatives, but without that 2/3 majority, basically Democrats could prevent Republican legislature from making it to the Senate, I think. And they also can basically keep the president from, getting things rolling of his own accord, but they can't stop executive orders, which are, executive orders and have no oversight, essentially, except for the Supreme Court, which Mr. Trump has just appointed somebody to give him a majority there as well. It really is scary. Like, there are a lot of decent Republicans out there. There are a lot of good people, men and women, a lot more women, thankfully, who have the interests of the United States at heart. Sometimes they have individual preferences that maybe I, as a liberal Democrat, don't agree with, but by and large, they're fine folks. They're deserving of respect like any other human being is, and only a tiny fraction are these racist, demonstrably corrupt individuals, like in my own state of Washington, Matt Shea, who apparently who's come out openly and said that yes, he did create a manifest by which Christians would take over the country and put to the sword, essentially, all non-believers or infidels in their path. It was terrifying, and it's even more terrifying to think that this guy comes from my state. Almost all the, in fact, I'd say all the Republicans from this state are really pretty good. Most of them have to be sort of centrist just to sort of appeal to Democrats' point of view, because this is a classically very blue state. In the 8th district where I live, Dino Rossi, who literally lives down the street from me, one neighborhood over essentially, is running against a woman named Kim Schreier, who is a pediatrician. She's trying to run for Senate. I think this is her first election, actually. And I would have expected this area to be predominantly blue with a bit of red in it, because there's a lot of fiscally conservative people who've made a lot of money in software and other sort of commercial ventures in this area. And, they want to keep their money, and they want a smaller government so that they can do what they want with their businesses. And I understand that perspective. I don't have that kind of money, so I would prefer money be spent on services. That's my liberal viewpoint. But it's a much closer race than I think anybody was expecting. At least I wasn't expecting this closer race. Dino Rossi's not the worst guy in the world, but he's just not really what I think represents this area as well as Kim Schreier. So I voted for Kim Schreier. But it really is sort of, how do I put this? I'd find this all so much more interesting if I didn't live here. Like in the United States, I mean. It's got to be very strange for Canadians to watch this, for Europe to look at our elections and think about how much it affects them. And it does affect the rest of the world a little more than I feel like it should. But the end result of all of this, the hilarious thing, me vlogging about it, is that what I'm talking about right now and what I'm thinking about right now doesn't really matter. Because I make all these videos knowing that they're not going to get watched tomorrow. They're not going to become, million view videos. Because, well, first of all, I don't monetize them, so their priority for people's scanning for stuff on the internet is going to drop considerably. But I make them as a record of how I feel at any particular moment on any particular day. And right now, the day is not over and the election results have not finished. But the next video I make, most all of these races will have been decided. We'll have a much better idea of what the country is going to be like at that point. And then, annoyingly, the next week is going to be a bit more fingernail biting, as recounts will be essentially requested across the board, because political races these days are very close in most areas. And the required gap is large enough in a lot of places that recounts are almost expected across the board. The one that I've watched sort of anxiously, and I'm sort of disappointed in, Andrew Gillum in Florida for the state governor seat. He seemed like a pretty cool guy, and he seemed like somebody that Florida could really benefit from having. And he's going, right now, all indications are that he's going to lose by a very small margin. When you look at a map of Florida, it is a lot of red with some very, very deep blue in all of the urban centers, but not all the urban centers. Pensacola does not have a strong liberal base, for example. So, but he ran a really good race. He seems like a really cool guy. If he ever ends up trying to do something else in politics, I would definitely support him. Not that if he sticks to Florida, I'm ever going to have a chance, but yeah. So tonight's sort of a wash on my feelings and my opinions. Tomorrow we'll have a lot more solid information. And as always, I'm Eric Schmornitz, and tomorrow will be better.